Here we go.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a little bit after 6, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate you all taking a little bit of time out of your busy Friday night to join me. And first, I'd like to apologize for this taking as long as it has to have a togetherness meeting like this. I'd much rather be in front of you in the auditorium as compared to what we're doing now, but at least we're able to get our information out. I've been waiting, not to make excuses, but I've been waiting as long as possible so we had as much concrete information available as possible. As you well know, everything COVID related has been very fluid this fall, with many changes, many clarifications, multiple agencies being involved, which has made it really difficult on us to get definite decisions made and to get definite information out to be available. You know, just as a kind of a case in point, it was literally only a couple of weeks ago that the Rochester City Schools decided to postpone their fall season and move it to the new fall 2 season in March. Schools as close as us and their leagues as Corning and Watkins Glen, just upwards of 3 weeks ago, even after school started, they made the decision to not have fall athletics. So things have been changing quickly, to make a long story short. So while at least it may not be a normal season, it's certainly going to look different for all of us and feel a little bit different. I think at least we get to have a season as compared to some of those schools around us. You know, and thinking back to our spring athletes that didn't get a chance to have a season at all, you know, I consider us to be fortunate to at least have the opportunity to have what fall sports that we can at this time. So with that said, I'm going to work through my typical information that I would do if we were all meeting in person in the auditorium. I'll add some specific information about COVID-related policies and procedures and some of those kind of things. I'll share my email at the end if you have questions, rather than try to ask them all through this, as we've got about 70-some people on. I would rather you just send me an email and I'll answer them on a one-on-one basis. The presentation can be a little bit on the wordy side. Don't worry about trying to take notes, or if you're only listening like from your car or something like that. The whole presentation is on our school's website. If you go under departments and then go to the athletic department, and then there's a link there for preseason presentations, and that whole presentation is there. So you can click on that. We're also trying to record this if we need to play it back or something like that. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully everything works. This is all new for me, trying to do it this way as well. So we'll see if we can pull it off. So as it has been in the past, there are some things that have not changed, as much as a lot of things have, but some things have not. Our athletic handbook has not. All of the information that's important for you, relevant to disciplinary procedures, academic procedures, attendance procedures, all of those items are in our athletic handbook that is on our athletic website. So again, if you go to the school district's website, go to departments, go to athletics, there's a spot there that says handbook and other forms, and that whole document is in there. A couple of the major things just to bring out, and one that would be a little bit new and something that we need a little bit of your help as parents on, and for the students that are in, you know, this is something that's important for you. And that is our academic or our attendance policy, and with the little change being in our hybrid schedule. When you're in-person days, then that hasn't changed. You need to be in school by 10 a.m. on your in-person days. What is new is when you are on your remote days, now you know this already from your class meetings in the beginning of the year as students, when you're on your remote day, that still counts as an attendance day. So you need to log into your computer before 1 o'clock, complete your little student check-in thing that you have available there so that we can see that that's your attendance. If you don't do that before 1 o'clock, that makes you ineligible for a practice or a game that night. So it's important, students, that you get up. Remember, your remote day is not a day off. It's a day for you to work on the subjects that you have, only not in person. So it's very important that you check in, get up early, set your alarm if you need to, and check in by 1 o'clock each day. Once you become tardy, especially when you're in person or when you don't remote check in, once you become tardy for a second day and beyond, you become ineligible. So it's really important that you pay attention to your remote day attendance and obviously when you're in session, getting here on time. If you are in person and you get excused to the nurse's office, okay, that makes you ineligible for that day as well. Our academic policy hasn't changed either. Teachers now have a list of all the students in the sports teams, and they'll be putting in lack of effort referrals as they see necessary. So if you're a student or your student is not doing the work that the teacher thinks they should be doing in their classes, they are going to probably write up a lack of effort referral that'll get submitted to the office. Should you get more than one athletic referral, then you'll be on what's called athletic probation, or you'll be placed at least in athletic study hall. Typically that would have been, you would stay after for that teacher or teachers that have submitted those. Now it's a little bit trickier. We weren't initially allowing people to stay after school. We don't have a late bus. So those situations will be covered on a case-by-case basis, and that'll be handled through the high school office and Mrs. Garrich. Same piece with if you're failing 2 or more courses at the end of a marking period, which our first marking period is up in 2 weeks, then you could also be placed in athletic study halls and could lead to being ineligible. So it's important to read in the handbook the pages, as it says here on 13 and 14, that highlight the academic policy. Athletic calendar, this is probably even more important than what it used to be. First and foremost, I want to point out, if you are looking at the PowerPoint or looking at your screen, it points to a link on our athletic calendar. On the athletic calendar, there's a big blue button right on our district website that says athletic calendar. You can also get there by going through calendars on the athletic website, so a couple of different ways to get there. But when you are there, there's an option for notify me. So down at the bottom right, there's a button there. You click on it. You'll set up an account if you haven't yet. Choose what sports, how you want to be notified, either through an email or through a cell phone message, a text message. And then anything that gets changed or updated or modified in the athletic calendar. Maybe we have a postponement because weather's bad. Maybe we had to move a field location, which could happen this fall. Maybe we're moving from the soccer complex down to the turf field. That will be notified to you through this athletic calendar, but only if you sign up for the notify me. Okay, so that's an important piece. The other thing that's new and important, and I'm going to click on it to bring up my actual website so you can see it live. This comes up. Is next to each event or underneath each event now. So here's Monday's schedule. The ADs across Livingston County have added comments to let you know about the spectator availability at their complexes. I'll talk more about spectators in a moment, but I wanted to highlight where that information is. So it's on the athletic calendar and it's under each game, as you can see here. I'm going to tell you it's going to be important for you as parents to check that most likely the day of the game to see if it's changed. You have to remember this. Livingston County Athletic Association is broken up in over 4 different counties. And if you include our cross-country program, it's broken up over 5 different counties. Each county has different Department of Health that can issue different guidance depending on what's going on in their counties. So, long story made short, something where a school was offering the ability to have spectators maybe a day ago, all of a sudden may not be offering it the day of the game. So it's important that you check before you make an hour trip, let's say to Avon or Livonia, to make sure that they are allowing visitor spectators. And again, I'll talk more about spectators here momentarily. So that's information on the athletic website, very valuable for you to get comfortable and familiar with. All right, now to the spectators. This is the fun part, or not fun part for a lot of us, including myself. At this time, as most of you may be aware or may not be aware, for our athletic events here that's hosted at Haverling, we are allowed 2 spectators per athlete. Spectators do not have to be the parents. It could be a mom and a brother or a sister. It could be dad and a grandparent. That part doesn't matter. It's 2 spectators per athlete. That's here at home. At our away events, because they are in different counties, they may be allowing 2 spectators per athlete of visitors as well. We are not allowing visitor parents to come in. We have to go by what the Bend Department of Health is telling us, and in their interpretation of what New York State Department of Health is telling them in Governor Cuomo's office, that we are limited to 50 total people in attendance. Take our boys soccer team, for instance, 22 players times 2, that's 44 parents. We don't have a lot of room to add any visiting parents. So in Steuben County, which also includes Wayland, Cohocton, and Hornell, there are no visiting spectators allowed. Several of the Livingston County schools, which again could be broken into Wyoming County, Genesee County, as well as Livingston County, they may be allowing those spectators, 2 per. So it's important again that you check the athletic website. All parents, you may not have them yet. Some of them I just got today put together, but all parents will be receiving 2 passes that were put together by the league, and they are numbered. And we have a record of each athlete and the number of the passes that they received. So pass number 1, pass number 2. Here at home and on the road, there will be somebody, usually a site supervisor or somebody at a booth as you're entering their stadium, depending on how they're set up, that will be having you record your names next to those pass numbers. So they will already have our roster, for instance, if you go away, and they will have our name. So Mr. Abrams, and he has passes 20 and 21. So when my parents arrive, they're going to sign next to that, okay, their names. That's for contact tracing. Should there be a COVID-related positive test somewhere, they need to know who was at that event. At our home events, for swimming, we'll have somebody right there at the door where you'll be signing in, and at the soccer complex, we'll be walking around, one of the site supervisors with the clipboard for you to sign in. A common question is, well, what if I have a young child with me? Our guidance right now is 2 spectators per athlete. It does not designate ages. So you cannot bring, at this point, okay, based on our interpretation, you cannot bring, even 3 or 4 young kids that are, sitting with you. It's 2 spectators per athlete. The passes themselves are going to be turned back in at the end of the season, so please don't destroy them. Most schools are going to ask that you display them, and we would too. So if you have a lanyard, I didn't have a budget this year to go out and buy a bunch of lanyards, but if you have a lanyard to put it on, that would be great. Wear it around your neck so that everybody can see it being visible. A little bit more on spectators. You should have a face mask with you. Pretty much they're attached to us 24/7 now, it seems like anyway. Once you arrive at, let's say, the one of our facilities, once you're seated and you have social distance, I don't mind you taking down your face mask. Should you have to go to the restroom or that type of thing, then you would be required to wear your face mask. If you can't maintain social distancing for some reason, the site supervisor came up to have you sign in, you should be wearing a face mask, for instance. Now, other visiting sites, you need to go by their guidance. There are some that are saying you need to wear a face mask while you're in the bleachers at all times. If that's the case, then obviously you have to abide by that. They're just going by their local county's Department of Health guidance. Now, player-wise, we all know, not a fun topic for the players, but they're getting used to it. They're dealing with it. they will be wearing their face mask during competitions. Transportation. We still expect all of our athletes to ride to all of our events on the buses. It's part of the socialization experience of sports. There'll be one per seat, just like for those who are riding buses in the morning and going home after school. There'll be one per seat. They'll be sitting against the window. If it's an away game and they're allowing spectators and you drove and you want to take your child home with you, that will be the same as it has always been. You'll go down, you'll see the coach after the game with your face mask on, of course, and you'll sign out on a sign-out sheet that they have available. If it's an away game again, and you want your child to go with another parent, okay, maybe it's your next door neighbor or what have you, and they're going to drop them off. There's a form on our website, again, in the athletic department, handbook and other forms that you need to fill out ahead of time. It's got to be signed by you as the person that's going to be doing the transportation and by the other child or athlete's parents. Give that to the coach, preferably at the beginning of the game. General expectations for the athletes. So if there's any athletes in here, these you want to pay attention to. But if there's not the athletes here, at least the parents, you'll know what we are looking for in terms of those expectations. Most of these are not different than what they would be at any other point. You're going to sit in your seat, face forward. You shouldn't have hands or anything out in the aisles. You wouldn't be doing, girls wouldn't be doing ponytails and stuff because you're supposed to be sitting next to the window. So that wouldn't be the opportunity to do that now anyway. Keep your volume down. Shouldn't be any loud or distracting noises on the bus, loud music, anything that would distract the driver. No flash photography, which is generally your cell phones, and you're taking selfies at nighttime. That's very distracting for the drivers because they just keep seeing flashes in their rearview mirror. When you're exiting, we expect you to throw away obviously any trash that you had, respect the driver and their commands. You're going to wear your mask throughout the trip, like you do if you're riding into school on the bus or riding home after school on the bus. You wear your mask throughout the trip. You don't take it off just when you sit down. Buses will be loaded in a certain manner. People who sit in the back, they'll load first, and then you load towards the front. They'll exit the buses in the reverse manner. The coaches will have a seating chart. Players will sit in their assigned seats. That's for contact tracing again. So we know exactly where everybody was on the bus. And I kind of jumped ahead. Now, in terms of where you'll be picking up and getting dropped off as athletes, different than last year. Last year, we started picking up at the top of the gym. That was because we had a lot of congestion at the lower part of the gym. Now that we're hybrid and a lot of our buses are not leaving until 4:30 because we have a bus driver shortage, first of all. So most of our trips are not leaving till later, so that congestion is alleviated. So everybody will be leaving from the lower area of the gym, and you'll be returning from the lower area of the gym. Chain of command is nothing that's different. Should you have an issue, parent or player, you should be speaking with that coach first. And it really should be the player speaking with the coach first. The player comes home, says, I've talked to coach, I'm still not getting solved, whatever it is I think I need solved. Then the parent can meet with the coach. If you met with a coach, you're still not seeing what you want to see, or you don't feel that anything's changing, then the parent and or the player can set up a meeting with myself, and then we just move up the line. Concussions are still here, okay? COVID didn't take those away, so we still have to have all of our concussion management procedures in place, and those haven't changed. These are on our website in the athletic department. They're also listed in the student handbook or the athletic handbook in terms of the protocol for returning to play. I'm not going to read through them all, but it is something that you want to be familiar with. Oops, I did not mean to click on that. Come back. Hang on a minute, we're having technical difficulties. We'll get there. Get back to where I was, sorry about that. I didn't realize that was a live hyperlink. Athletic trainers, if you didn't realize, this year were cut from our budget. This was a tough budget year, as most of you are well aware, and everybody was impacted across the board. Athletics were certainly no different. So the athletic training services were cut. So we used to have training room hours after schools on Mondays and Thursdays. Those are no longer in place, and there will not be trainers at our athletic events this year either. So I encourage you as an athlete or as a parent, Should you know that you're struggling with something injury-wise, to work through your family doctor or to go to a sports, a SMAC clinic or something like that, if we don't have the trainers available this year. After school, everybody needs to leave after school. It's going to be a little bit difficult for some, I realize. We used to have the situation where, you weren't leaving till 3. There was a couple of spots within the school that you could hang out. Now that a lot of our buses aren't leaving until 4:30, we can't have students just hanging out in the school hallways when we don't have any staffing here to watch them. So at the end of the day, okay, whether it be for practices or you're waiting for a depart for a game, you need to exit the school grounds and then come back close to the time of your event, whether it be a practice again or a game. If it's something where you can have a teacher, maybe you have a practice at 3 o'clock, or maybe you do have an earlier bus depart at 3, and there's a teacher that you can stay with, by all means, you can do that, if they're okay with that. Other than that, you'll have to leave and then come back. We ask that you try not to come back too early, or something like if you have a practice at 4:30 to come back at 4, okay, where you're going to be unsupervised, okay, either up on the soccer fields or whatever. Also creates problems. So try to arrive close to your practice start time and leave right after your practice start time. Social media, we are on social media. If you search for Haverling Rams, athletics, you'll find us on Facebook. Everything that gets posted on Facebook also goes to our Twitter site as well. This can be pretty valuable this fall, as I may post updates on things that may be going on, new policies or procedures. We are trying, going back to the spectator piece and the fact that we can't have a lot of people now, we are trying to set up some streaming options as often as we can, and that information will be shared on those Facebook pages. So definitely make sure you're liking us on Facebook. Other ways that you can get connected, if you haven't downloaded it yet, this is a great source for all of our athletic calendar information, which is now important with the visitor spectators and the rules for each of the schools that we go to. There is an app that you can download on either Apple or Android called the Activity Scheduler. And it may look like that little icon there, but that's a nice app just to have right on your phone, so you don't always have to go to our website to click on the athletic calendar. You'll have it right there on your phone handy. There's also the Haverling High School app that you can download, and that has links to the athletic calendar for athletes and other important updates as they become available. General social media things, since we were just talking about that, this is a time and an age where everybody watches social media and everybody's got something to say generally. If it's something positive, by all means, put it out there. Great job by the teams last night, or congratulations to coach on a 100th win, or something along that line. Those are great social media posts. If you are frustrated as an athlete or a parent about something, please don't go out to social media and to try to discuss it there. Okay, it never turns out well. For athletes, college coaches, okay, if you were ever thinking about moving on, they watch this stuff. Okay, they'll search for your social media and see what you've posted to see if you're a positive person, somebody that they want in their program. Employers will search social media to see about potential employees and what they might want in terms of an employee, or who they may not want based on what they're posting on social media. So it's just an awareness. Be careful what you post, because many times you post something, you had one meaning of it and everybody else took it in a different way. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind when you make posts. Your general responsibilities as parents, expect you to be sportsmanlike. It's going to be a little bit easier at games. It just won't be as many people around, but there's still going to be opportunities where you'll probably want to yell at an official, or maybe even yell at a coach or something like that. Obviously, we ask that you don't do those things. 24-hour rule, it's after a game, you're hot, you're upset, rather than march across the field or march across the pool, swim across the pool, to confront the coach, okay, you need to cool down a little bit, give yourself 24 hours, talk to your athlete, first of all. I can't remember how many times that I've talked with an athlete after a parent's been upset, and the athlete's like, oh my gosh, I told him not to worry about it, I got it covered, or something like that. So take that time, talk with your athlete, think about it, and then if you feel like you'd still need to communicate with a coach, you can the next day. We're almost there. So obviously we want you to be a fan, okay? Try to keep your cheering positive. And if you're a fan of the game, you're a fan of the game. If the other team does something great, then cheer for them too. It's okay. To show that you're just a fan of the game. I appreciate you attending. My goal was to have this done in 25 minutes, and I am almost on by the second. I'm very impressed by that. I'm going to leave this slide up here for a minute. It's got my email address. If there was something that you were hoping to have covered, wasn't covered tonight, feel free to send me an email, and I'll try to address that as soon as I can. I will say there may be some things that I'm not going to have an answer to right now. Things are changing literally on a daily basis. Questions are coming up from other league ADs. Questions are coming up from Department of Health or administrators or parents or players or coaches that we hadn't addressed yet. Okay? As an example, today ball boys came up and whether or not we were going to have ball boys and ball girls for soccer games. I don't know. League ADs are now discussing it. So little things like that. I may not always have the answer right away, but I will do everything I can to find that answer. For the athletes that are here, I wish you good luck this fall. I know it's a different playing environment than it has been in the past, but your game is your game, okay? And the ball is still round. It still goes in the goal. The water's still wet. The courses that you run are still the same way that they usually are. So take advantage of it. Try to enjoy the experience the best you can. And just try to remember that you have the opportunity that our spring athletes didn't have last year. So stay safe. And please let me know if you have any questions. And thank you one more time for attending.